Hello! In this video, we're unpacking Yvon Chouinard, founder of Patagonia, his decision to give his share of the company, majority ownership, to a nonprofit organization and trust so that his legacy can live on. It's a remarkable story, and as much as it's already made the splash on headlines and been shared on Instagram, etc., we as grant writers can actually take this a layer deeper to understand what this means for funders and what this could mean in the future as a trend that I suspect we very well might see more of in the future. Not necessarily tomorrow, but in the future. So with that, let's dive in. All right, so we already know this is big news, right? That day has come and gone, but there is something we can really draw from this. Yvon Chouinard is the ultimate role model in terms of putting money where their mouth is. Not just him, but the legacy of leadership that he has created within that organization. So this is very interesting because this is an experiment in responsible business that takes it much further than what we've been seeing so far. And the question is, will other companies follow suit? I believe based on history, we have a good reason to think that they will. So I'll get to that in a moment. But I also want us to bring up, what does this mean for you as a grant applicant? Where is that $3 billion going anyway? Okay, so how it's working is that $3 billion went to a brand new nonprofit called the Hold Fast Collective. Interestingly, it is a 501c4, meaning they can make donations to political campaigns, and that since they didn't give it to a 501c3 and form that entity type, that means that they were not getting a ton of tax benefit. Like they took, I think it was like 17 million or something of a hit in taxes that they would need to be paying to have set up the entity as a 501c4 and not a 501c3. And that hasn't been done before in terms of like on this scale. We've never seen that. So that's really cool. And it also does tell us a lot about, I mean, we know this is not a surprise. We've all seen where Patagonia money has gone. Like they have a very holistic approach to where their money goes. And what I really appreciate about it is this leadership in business. So, now we're all used to seeing, especially if you go into REI, you see the 1% for the planet logo, that black logo with the white inside of it. Well, Patagonia co-founded that, and that has led to thousands of companies to commit to donating 1% of their annual sales to environmental causes, right? They were the pioneers of a number of things, like their the down jackets that they have and they're so known for and that are awesome. I should just be like wrapped in a Patagonia coat right now because I actually own quite a bit of Patagonia. And how they led the way in really like organic cotton and ethically sourcing feathers for those coats, right? So, and if you look at the book, remember, I'm forgetting the title of it, but we'll link it below, Yvon Chouinard's book. I mean, he was way ahead of his time in the concept of really flexible workplace so you could go serve, or bringing in daycare so that people weren't held at home just because like their kiddo was sick or whatever. Like these are things that we're still trying to figure out in the workplace today, and they were working on it and getting it sorted out, providing it for their employees in the 80s, right? Like, come on, this is not rocket science. So if this screenshot is any bit of an inclination of what's to come, because companies have followed suit with these activities, I believe we have every reason to think that other very wealthy co-founders might consider this as an option of what to do with their business so their legacy can live on and not just in the wealth of their family. Something that really stood out to me, and I didn't actually realize that this had happened until we were researching this, in 2008, Patagonia actually changed their mission statement to read, "Patagonia is in the business to save our home planet." Like, talk about a whopping sized mission statement. And the reality is they're not accomplishing that mission statement alone just by selling us cool coats, right? That onto itself is not enough. So that is when Yvon Chouinard started pressing the board saying, I want to know what else can we do, because I don't want to be considered a billionaire. He actually still, if you believe this, the man does not have a cell phone. He still drives a raggedy Subaru. I just got rid of my raggedy Subaru. I don't know how he hasn't gotten rid of it. This thing is annoying to drive. Like, you can hear the wind come in when you're driving it on the outside. Like, anytime someone would get in the car with me, they would try to pull the window up because they thought the window was a little down. Like, I don't know how he stayed in that vehicle, but bless him for doing it. So yeah, obviously that's what led to then this massive research project. Frankly, you can read about it here. This was a great article. The New York Times did a nice job covering this. But they talk about all the different paths that they had considered for making this a reality, of unloading that wealth so that it could live on, right? What stands out to me about their approach when we think about this from a grant writing perspective is Patagonia is extremely good about not just making a one-off donation. Like, they support it from like a filmmaking perspective. They support those private businesses that are in that space. They support local boots on the grounds activity and activism. I'm going to give you an example to talk through this. So here is one of my girlfriends. Her name's Keree Smith. She is a fisherwoman out in Bristol Bay. She owns her own boat, runs a crew. She's awesome. And she also built this really cool cabin out in the woods, which I completely appreciate why she said she should have built the sauna first, because it gets really cold there in the winter, like -40 for a week or 2 or 3. So she is sponsored by Patagonia Workwear. That's actually how she's tagged in this Instagram post. And I love this because this isn't totally supporting a woman who is embodying and living the values of Patagonia through and through. So that's such a great example of supporting a small business, especially a small business woman owner that's doing things that you just don't see a ton of chicks out here doing this sort of thing. So really awesome. Love seeing what she's doing. Some friends are out there right now helping her film a video. So eventually we can link that, about building a salmon smokehouse. So yeah, you're looking for any salmon, she's got it. So that leads to, well, okay, great. They support people like Keree. Well, they also really support the protection of Bristol Bay. That's here in Alaska. So if you look at Alaska like this, as a state, right? This is southeast down to Juneau. Anchorage is here. This is the Aleutians. This is the whole state, North Slope. Bristol Bay is here. So there's been a lot of money, a lot of activism, a lot of policy support, a lot of political support behind protecting Bristol Bay so it would not get the pebble mine, which would be the biggest open pit mine in the world, and frankly a disaster. I'd stand on that. Try not to have like political beliefs on these YouTube channel, but frankly, pebble mine would be a disaster. So it's really, really interesting just to see and kind of unpack all the places that Patagonia has put money to support this cause, right? So they supported a documentary. Where did that go? There was a documentary. There's support behind Patagonia Action Works, helping form the United Tribes of Bristol Bay, 15 federally recognized tribes and other organizations that care about protecting Bristol Bay. They're highly supported. And then you can just keep going down this path. It's called like having 1,000 tabs open. Okay, I presume I'm not the only one that runs into problems with this, but it's really, really fascinating because you can really start to get an understanding for Patagonia puts their money where their mouth is, and they do it in pretty much every channel possible. So what does that mean for you? What that means for you is, if you're an organization doing any sort of climate change work, go have a look at where is their giving already set. Like, are they already prioritizing that area, that zone, that cause? If not, I could see that being a bit of an uphill battle, because I can see that they're really they put in an effort that's super robust, not just these like one-off donations that frankly don't really necessarily move the needle. So go and see how you already align to the giving history of Patagonia today to understand where their donations will go in the future. The other piece that's really interesting about their donations is that you don't have to be an organization. You might not be an organization that clearly fits into the funding priorities of Patagonia, but there's still a lot that we can learn from them by studying them. All right, so what does this mean for you, or can this mean for you? I want you to take a moment to reflect on this monumental act by a business leader and how that can influence what we do with our own lives and the direction that we take it. So number one, do you feel at peace and in alignment? Clearly, Yvon has been in alignment with his values to have seen the company Patagonia grow into what it is today and has maintained those values within the company culture. So if you're feeling a rub, like you're not at peace and you're not in alignment, what needs to happen for that to be able to be true for you? And I can see, if you've not been a grant writer before and you're considering it and you're watching these videos, I can see why you're drawn to it, because this is one of the best career paths for actually aligning to the organizations and the work that you know is meaningful, is making the world a better place, etc. So look at this inwardly, maybe journal about it. Do you feel at peace and in alignment? And if not, what are some small steps we can take for that to be true? Because for Yvon to give away billions of dollars, his share of the company, that was living in alignment with his values, and he is now at peace with that. Secondly, does this challenge your beliefs about business and profits being bad? The reason I bring that up is because of a book that we've been reading recently internally, the Anti-Racist Business Book, An Equity-Centered Approach to Work, Wealth, and Leadership by Trudy LeBron. It's an awesome book. I'm only showing you the cover because I have the book at home, and so I don't have it right here. But it's been awesome, and it's been so interesting to unpack a lot of the messaging that we were raised with, thinking corporations are big and bad and evil. And hey, some are, don't get me wrong. But a lot don't have to be and are not. So how can we reframe and see that business can be a very powerful thing for achieving good things in our community? So does what Patagonia has done here challenge some of your beliefs about business being bad? Another thought for you as a grant writer is, how can you focus on what is strong versus what is wrong in your narrative writing? So what I mean by that, and if you've seen any of our other content, we'll link a blog post down about this and another YouTube video that Alexis filmed. But what we're seeing is, like, we are in this fascinating shift in this industry. Thank goodness 2020 hit, because a lot of good things came from Black Lives Matter and the very overdue awakening on that, and how our giving needs to change, and like, who is driving the change? Is it community-based led or not, right? And what I love about Patagonia's giving is that it's very like at the grassroots activism level, saying you have the answers, we'll get behind and supporting you, versus saying we have the answers, we have the money, you implement it, right? So I want you to start paying attention to these other trends that are happening in the industry, and for you to really stand out in your grant proposals, whether you're eventually applying to the Holdfast Collective or a different entity, is thinking about, how can we talk about what is strong for us, what is going great, what are our strengths, versus where we are deficient, and what's wrong with our community, or what's wrong with this or that, right? It's a very powerful shift, and it's just one of many that are happening right now. It's actually kind of a cool time to be in this industry. So process that. Just process, what does all of this mean for me? For me, it meant, like, how can I meet this guy? I'm taking fishing in Wyoming because I grew up like an hour south of where evidently he spends a lot of time. So that was what I took away. But also thinking about just this question of, how do you never lose yourself so that you're always living in alignment with your values? All right, let's wrap this up. So this has been really fun. I've really enjoyed reading about Yvon Chouinard, and I hope that you spend a little bit of time to learn about him as well. He has a great book out. This is huge news. I hope we see this as a major trend in business moving forward into the future. So take with you some reflection, some pausing for a hot moment, and really thinking about, how can I live in alignment in everything that I'm doing the way that Yvon clearly has himself? Because I think if we can all do that, we're all going to achieve things way beyond our wildest dreams, which is essentially what happened in Patagonia. All right, if you've enjoyed this video, please hit the like and subscribe button, add a comment below. Love seeing what you have to say or think about this. This is definitely a conversation that we should be having. And from there, I'll catch you in the next video. See you later.